By the time this speech airs, I will have just presided over my 16th graduation ceremony as the president of Mount San Jacinto College. 16 graduation speeches, 16 commencements with thousands of students going across the stage. In this most recent one, we had over 2,100 students graduate and over 1,000 students march. But what really intrigues me personally is how I feel at each graduation. It is so inspiring to look out and feel as if it's the first time at this graduation, because I'm just as excited as the students, looking out and seeing a sea of family and friends and graduates with these excited faces with such a hopeful future ahead of them. And then making it a little more personal, hearing my name, I still can't believe it. Hearing my name introduced as Dr. Roger Schultz, Superintendent President of Mount San Jacinto College. I still see myself as this kid from Downey, California, who came from hardworking, blue-collar parents that never attended college. And so when I hear my name and recognize that I'm with one of the fastest-growing community colleges, one of the most dynamic colleges in the state, it literally brings chills, especially when I can see what it does for so many lives in the community that I serve. But being a college president was not my first goal. And I have to reflect back on why that is and how I got there, because I'm preparing for my 60th birthday. Actually, by the time this airs, that will have just happened as well. And I think it's coincidental that Mount San Jacinto College also just celebrated its 60th birthday, and it had a theme of a legacy of transformation for that 60th anniversary. And so it gave me a time to reflect and try and think, how did I get here exactly? And what exactly is a legacy? What is this thing that people keep talking about that I'm going to leave behind when I eventually retire? And then I want to share just some simple tips and observations about building your own legacy. But before we can do that, I think I have to go back and let you know who I was growing up. And I was an athlete that played all kinds of sports, basketball, tennis. I was an outdoors person. I wore basketball shorts and t-shirts and really enjoyed going to college. And in fact, I found a gig to work as a DJ, a party DJ in college. And I loved listening to the music and the lyrics. And a lot of times those lyrics struck me. One from a few decades back, is Carry On My Wayward Son by Kansas. And in it, there's a lyric, part of the song, tossed about, I'm like a ship on the ocean. I set a course for winds of fortune. And it talks about when you eventually get to your destination or your goal, that you'll have peace. And I think it really does speak to the journey that we all take in life. And how do we get to where we're going? Life just doesn't haphazardly happen. We have to have a plan, a loose plan. We have to set goals. We do get derailed along the way, and we have to anticipate that as well. And when you get derailed, what do? You have to chart a new course, because sometimes it's just not worth fighting going the old direction. But if we're talking about legacy, what exactly is a legacy? That's something we have to define too. Quite simply, author Tony Robbins puts it as something that one leaves that is enduring and has lasting value. And a legacy can take the form of many things. It can take the form of money. It can take the form of physical assets or property, like buildings, like homes, like estates. Or it can even be stories or legends or even myths. But taking that one step further is a Native American concept called the seventh generation principle, where they look through a lens towards the future of all their actions of today and try and see how will their actions of today impact 7 generations into the future. Think of that, almost 200 years into the future, people that they will never know. They're trying to anticipate how their actions will impact the world. Let me try and illustrate how simple actions in my own family's personal life impacted how I got here today. And it's part of the reflection. It starts with a humble man living in what is today Poland, and it was post-World War I. He had a small family, his wife and son, but he was shot by the Russians, and fearing for his life, he immigrated to the United States, where he felt he had to in order to pursue his dream of creating a family. And he eventually did add to that family. He added another son and a daughter who eventually became my mom. And my mom and dad carried that legacy forward and had 3 kids of their own: myself, my brother, and my sister. They instilled in us a value of really trying to pay it forward, trying to give to others, and to improve one's life through pursuit of higher education. Again, they were not college educated, but they recognized the value of it and its power. My early goal was not to be a college president. I entered USC's Annenberg School wanting to be a broadcast journalist. I wanted to pursue my passion of sports and reporting. And I wanted to also cover news stories of history in the area that were being made. But the reality was that was not in the cards for me. I did do it a little bit, but I often tell students, I am the perfect example of a failed major in broadcast journalism. But was it a waste? No. I learned skills. I learned talents that I had that I did not realize that have served me very well to excel as a college president. And as I said, I think it carries forward to my kids. We're all role models to people. And today my kids are also pursuing careers in engineering, and I have 2 kids pursuing careers in medicine. And I think it talks to the desire to make the world a better place by improving it, or for literally saving lives. Now, I contrast that to when I was struggling to try and break into the field, and how am I going to get on camera? How am I going to get behind that set? How am I going to read sports scores to people on Saturday night at 11:30 and news stories, or tell the weather? Wow, they're going to sleep. They're not even going to remember those in the morning. I honestly often say to myself, thank God for unanswered prayers, like the song title from Garth Brooks. Because this job is so personally rewarding, I can't even express how much so. Because I have met so many great students, so many great people that I have worked with at the college and in the community. Because we have worked hard on raising hundreds of millions of dollars to build buildings, create campuses, add new programs that students are able to go into to change their lives and impact others in the community. And so it also manifests in the way that we work with our students and even other fellow colleagues by mentoring them and giving them the encouragement to know that they too have the power to leave a legacy and change the lives in their community forever. But how did I get there? How did I jump all the way from pursuing my dream of being a broadcaster into being a college president? Well, I worked my way through my graduate program in communication, and I was able to recruit and advise transfer students up and down the state, and eventually settling in as a faculty member at Long Beach City College. And I saw these inspiring stories of these students and their families and their communities being changed by the power of higher education. And then the switch flipped. I gave up on that dream. I realized that this is much more powerful, and this new career path was taking me down the road towards higher education. But I think you need to also know, and I recognize that a lot of things have happened. I'm lucky, a little bit of luck played into it, but there's a lot of hard work. You have to follow that plan. You have to change course when needed. You have to be flexible, but you have to show up with energy, with passion, with hard work. It's not just showing up and muddling through. It's not just showing up and checking boxes. This is not a participation award if you want to leave a meaningful legacy. Because you really do want to leave the world in a better place for others. So let's just take a look at 3 very simple tips. They're not real hard. They're not difficult concepts. It's make a plan. Have that plan, but keep it loose because life is going to throw you curveballs. I used the word chaos earlier. Life has chaotic moments. If you have a life that is a straight line that you are thinking it's going to follow, it's not. So plan for chaos. Embrace it. My grandfather had a plan. He wanted to raise a family in Europe. That didn't happen. The chaos happened. And look what happened. Would my grandfather have come to the United States if World War I hadn't happened, if he didn't have that adversity? No, but he embraced the chaos, faced it head on, and changed his life trajectory. And in the process, changed the trajectory of his whole lineage and his family. And so those are important factors to realize. We don't always understand what's happening, but continue on that changed course. And then the other item we don't always think of, give back. I mean, I wouldn't be here without the many teachers, counselors, and people that have supported me, family members. It is important that we bring others along with us because life is hard and you're going to need help getting through chaos. So people will appreciate it when you do help them. So I've reflected back several times on song lyrics, and I'm going to do it again as we come to the close. Freedom Was a Highway is a Jimmy Allen song from a few years ago. And it's, again, to me, these lyrics sometimes just jump out. And it made me start to think well before I started thinking of legacy. But there's a line in there, quote, "When you're 17 and driving, you don't think about the road running out." Boy, that made me really think. I've got more road behind me than I do in front of me. And this has seemed like a really quick ride, but I've gone up some really steep hills with some great difficulty. I've avoided some potholes, but eventually I've had to endure some detours because of the chaos that I encountered on the highway. But I was ready, I was flexible. And along the way, I've seen people on the side of the road that needed help, and they were so appreciative when I did help them out. And the bottom line is, I feel I'm leaving the world a better place because the future is not about you. It's about those people in the future you will never know and how you make the world a better place.